My twin sister had her heart set on my husband, and surprisingly conspired with our family to murder me. She meticulously disguised herself as me, shyly sitting on our marriage bed, waiting for my husband to return to spend a good night together. My parents also eagerly awaited for her and my husband to live in harmony, and quickly add new members to the family. My husband pushed the door open and came in. My sister, with a flushed face, went forward to help him undress. She didn't know yet that the man before her was even more terrifying than her. I transformed into a wisp of a ghost floating in the air, watching helplessly as Han Mubai stepped into the room, his armor still stained with blood and dust. Not seen for 2 months, he had thinned a bit, but appeared even more handsome and imposing. My sister Xiao Xuexin nervously clutched her dress, then steeling herself stood up from the bed, walked to Han Mubai's side, and softly said, "My lord, this concubine shall serve you by helping you undress and bathe." Her voice was almost identical to mine, but our voices were originally different. "7 days ago, when I was about to die," she said to me, "Zhuyun, I suffered a lot to change this voice. Don't you think it sounds like yours?" It was indeed similar, because even a cautious person like Han Mubai didn't notice that the wife before him had been replaced. Han Mubai took off his armor and opened his arms. Xiao Xuexin blushed, and with a pair of delicate soft white hands, she went to untie Han Mubai's belt. She wasn't born fair-skinned to begin with, but to match my skin tone. For the past 2 years, she took sunbai pills every day, and avoided sun exposure all day long, finally becoming as fair-skinned as I am. It wasn't just my voice and skin. She even perfectly imitated my demeanor and behavior. She said she spent a full 2 years preparing. She said she was determined to get it. Han Mubai lowered his head and looked at her. "You changed your incense." Xiao Xuexin paused for a moment, then said softly, My lord, what do you think of this scent?" Han Mubai frowned. "It is too strong, not as good as what you used before." "Change it back," Xiao Xuexin hastily said. Yes. Han Mubai turned and walked towards the bath. Xiao Xuexin quickly followed. Joy in her eyes. She wasn't discovered. So naturally she was happy. "I don't want to go to the bath area because I know what will happen next." Han Mubai entered the military at 12 years old, and now it has been 13 years. His vigor is intense, and his bedroom affairs are also different from ordinary people. Although I don't know if any women served him intimately during these 2 months. He was away. Every time he returned after being away for many days, it definitely made it difficult for me to bear. He didn't show me any tenderness. Instead, he was even nonchalant. "Your parents sent you here precisely for you to please this king. Yet I don't see you putting in much effort." Later, Nanny advised me to fawn on him a bit. I listened to Nanny's words, and only then did he become less brutal. But actually, the one who was originally meant to marry Han Mubai was Xiao Xuexin. But that year, when Han Mubai led a large army back to Tiandu from the northern border, 5 human heads hung from his saddle. Although he told the emperor that he encountered bandits on the way and casually beheaded them, everyone with discerning eyes knew that these 5 heads represented the 5 families who impeached the Pei family back then. Our Song family was one of them. The Pei family suffered a bloodbath due to the impeachment, so Han Mubai naturally sought revenge. Thus, the 5 families offered rare jewels and peerless beauties, hoping he would quell his anger. Xiao Xuexin was that peerless beauty. She was worried that Han Mubai would torture her to death. So she tearfully begged her parents not to send her. Her parents loved her, and in the end, they made me marry Han Mubai in place of Xiao Xuexin. Although Xiao Xuexin and I were twins, at our birth the soothsayer predicted that one of us would bring about the downfall of the Song family. So, I, who was quiet and didn't cry after birth, was deemed the bringer of disaster. They prepared to drown me. Mother could bear it and threatened her life. So I survived. I was confined to the deepest courtyard of the Song family, with only a nanny to care for me. From then on, outsiders only knew that the Song family's cherished eldest legitimate daughter was Xiao Xuexin, and were unaware of another daughter named Xiao Zhuyun, who, like a small blade of grass, struggled to grow in that narrow courtyard. The Song family never gave me a name. Zhuyun was given to me by my nanny. Nanny said that on the day she carried me to the small courtyard, the peach blossoms there were in full bloom. the most beautiful she had ever seen, so she named me Zhuyun. Zhuyun, it echoed my short life. My soul uncontrollably floated to the edge of the bath. Han Mubai was already in the pool, sitting against the pool edge amidst the rising steam. His body was covered in hideous crisscrossing old scars, and Xiao Xuexin's eyes darted away in fear when she saw them. She was scared. I found it ridiculous. She didn't hesitate at all when she killed me. I floated to Han Mubai's side and waved my hand in front of his eyes. Although I had always been a little afraid of him, now I hoped he could sense me, or realize that Xiao Xuexin wasn't me. My corpse was still buried in Xiao Manor's garden, being devoured by ants and worms. If he could avenge me for the sake of our 3 years of affection, I would be grateful to him. If he wouldn't, digging up my body and burning it to ashes would also be good. I like warm places. I don't want to lie in the darkness forever. Unfortunately, he had no perception of me. He closed his eyes to rest. Xiao Xuexin steadied herself, gently bit her red lips, and prepared to enter the pool. Han Mubai suddenly opened his eyes and looked at her. "My lord, why are you looking at your concubine?" Xiao Xuexin asked. Han Mubai said, "I heard that during the time this king was away, you returned to the Song family." Xiao Xuexin immediately knelt down. "Yes, my concubine's mother is ill, so I returned home for a few days. Please forgive me, Your Majesty." Mentioning my mother, my heart still couldn't help but ache. Back then, she forced the Song family with her death to let me live, but then she tricked me into returning when Xiao Xuexin wanted to be with Han Mubai, so Xiao Xuexin could poison and kill me. I want to ask her why. Why love me, yet also kill me? After listening to Xiao Xuexin's explanation, Han Mubai said, "Since your mother is sick, it is all right to go back." I was stunned. Han Mubai never used to say such things to me. On the day of our wedding night, he said that I was given to him by my parents, so I was his entirely, and could no longer have a self from then on. My life was his, and my death was his too, to endure his torment, to bear his wrath. That night he pinched my face and said coldly, "Even if you are indeed born to inspire pity, don't expect this king to pity you even a little." He said it, and he did it. In these 3 years of marriage, besides matters of the bed, he didn't speak much to me, let alone let me return home. "Thank you for your kindness, Your Majesty," Xiao Xuexin said softly, then stood up and walked to Han Mubai's side, taking a cotton towel to wipe his body. Suddenly, Han Mubai's attendant's voice came from outside. "Your Majesty, the Emperor urgently summons you." Understood. Han Mubai stood up and left. Xiao Xuexin stamped her foot, looking at Han Mubai's retreating figure, resenting that the Emperor's urgent summons came at the wrong time. Xiao Xuexin returned to her room, and happily spun around a few times. My former maidservant Kue came in carrying tea at this moment. "Congratulations, my lady, on successfully deceiving his lordship. Kui Dia was sent by the Song family 2 years ago, after the governess who raised me passed away. At that time I thought my family cherished me, but only now do I realize it was to prepare in advance for Xiao Xuexin to take my place. They had already made plans to kill me 2 years ago." Xiao Xuexin pulled Kui ear over. "Smell me. What do I smell like?" Kui sniffed carefully. "Young miss, besides the peach scent, there is no other smell on you." Xiao Xuexin was a little uneasy. "Really?" But his lordship only came close to me for an instant, and smelled the agarwood I used before. "I also don't understand. Han Mubai isn't usually skilled in the art of fragrance. How could he immediately detect the difference in Xiao Xuexin?" Kui said, "Perhaps the agarwood you used before was excellent, and its scent could dissipate immediately. I think if you burn more peach incense for a few days it will completely cover it." "That makes sense." Xiao Xuexin lit a few more peach incenses, then took out a small figure and pricked it with a needle. "Fall into eternal hell, never to be reincarnated. My name, Xiao Zhuyun," was written on the small figure. I think the sorcerer who taught her to prick figures must be a mediocre one, otherwise, with so many needles she is pricked into me, I wouldn't feel anything at all. After pricking for a while, she spoke to the little figure. "Sister, oh sister, don't Do you think yourself unlucky either? You've possessed the Lord for 3 years after all. Just now when I looked at him, he truly looked like a divine general. So much better than that bookworm my parents found for me. No, he is better than all men in this world. After I married Han Mubai, she could no longer live as Xiao Xuexin. My parents sent her to a secluded place, and even found a scholar to be her husband. It is just that now I don't know what became of that scholar. I suppose he was killed just like me. She twisted the little figure's head. You should be thanking me. If it weren't for me, how could you have married the Lord, and enjoyed his person, his glory and wealth? Now, all of this is merely returning to its rightful owner. Once, she feared Han Mubai would make me marry in her place. Later, she saw that I had lived perfectly well for a year by Han Mubai's side, and Han Mubai had also step by step entered the heart of the imperial court. Then she fell in love with him again. Unable to eat, unable to sleep, like someone possessed. Quia, how often do the Lord and Zhuyun sleep together? Xiao Xuexin asked again. Quia replied, aside from official duties that take him far away. As long as the Lord is in the prince's residence, he almost always spends the night here with second miss. Xiao Xuexin glared at Quia. So what? 3 years of favor, and still not a single son or daughter. It is clear the Lord only uses her to relieve boredom. She was right. Han Mubai told me not to even dream of bearing his child. So I've been taking medicine. I also don't want to give birth to a child with the same fate as me. The night grew deeper. Han Mubai hadn't returned yet. Xiao Xuexin, feeling sleepy, went to bed first, asking Quia to wake her up when Han Mubai returned. I floated out of the room, sat on the rooftop, looking towards the emperor's palace. A few days ago I heard the emperor was seriously ill, Han Mubai being summoned into the palace at this time. I suppose he is about to be entrusted with a critical mission. When that happens, he will be beneath one person but above 10,000. I wonder if he'll make a move against the Song family. These past few years, he has already been restless. The Song family and the other 4 families thought that offering treasures like mountains and beautiful women would make him forget past grievances. But how could these compare to the hatred in his heart? That day I returned to the Song family. I had originally intended to tell them Han Mubai's intentions. But before I could even speak they poisoned me to death. The moon gradually set. The east grew faintly white. The sun was about to come out. I had to hide back in my room. I am a ghost. I am afraid of sunlight. Afraid of the sunlight I love the most. Han Mubai returned at noon. Xiao Xuexin had prepared a table full of delicious dishes waiting for him. I was hiding listlessly in the corner. I was hungry too. The half-month before I died I had no appetite. Eating anything would make me feel uncomfortable and want to vomit. Then when I arrived at the Song family, before even having a meal, I drank the poisoned wine Xiao Xuexin handed to me. So, I guess I am a hungry ghost. Xiao Xuexin had been anxiously waiting for Han Mubai these past few days and hadn't eaten much. Now that Han Mubai was by her side, her appetite also improved. Han Mubai, however, did not touch his chopsticks. Instead, he looked at her, his gaze scrutinizing, and lightly rubbed his fingers. This was his habitual movement when thinking. Could it be he has discovered something? Your Majesty. Why aren't you eating, Xiao? Xuexin asked. Han Mubai did not answer. Instead, he said, Puen. You seem to have a good appetite. Xiao Xuexin immediately realized her impropriety. She should have been imitating my quiet and docile manner. She put down her chopsticks, lowering her head. She TV made your Majesty laugh. Han Mubai then said, Sebin, I heard you were unwell last month. The imperial physician will come to treat you at Weishi. A flicker of panic flashed in Xiao Xuexin. I knew she was worried about the imperial physician discovering something. After all, while the external appearance could be changed, the subtle internal details could not, and I was also puzzled. I hadn't died last month yet, so he was clearly referring to me as the unwell person. Although I had fallen ill a few times in these 3 years, it was always the Pei family's own medical officers who treated me now. However, he was sending an imperial physician. Why was he so concerned about my health? Although Xiao Xuexin was extremely unwilling to be treated, she dared not defy Han Mubai, so she kept asking about my symptoms last month. Queer thought back for a moment. Last month second, Miss, wasn't he really ill? Just couldn't he eat much, and wanted to vomit after eating some meat dishes. But overall, it was nothing serious. Xiao Xuexin listened, her expression turning serious. What you are saying, it sounds like she is pregnant. My heart also gave a start. But how could that be? I never stopped taking my medicine. Kuya comforted her. Big Miss, don't all worry. Even if second Miss was pregnant, it is fine. She is already dead. Dead men tell no tales. That is right, I am already dead. Even if I were pregnant, the fetus would only be 2 months old. Even if the body were dug up, who could tell I was pregnant? At Weishi 1:03 p.m., the imperial physician arrived at the manor on time, after checking Xiao Xuexin's pulse. He went aside with Han Mubai. I floated over, and heard the imperial physician say to Han Mubai, "The lady is not pregnant." It really was Han Mubai who suspected I was pregnant. That is why he cared. If I had truly conceived his offspring, he could have gotten rid of it as soon as possible. Han Mubai said indifferently, "Your Majesty need not worry. The lady's pulse is neither floating nor sinking, calm and gentle. Her body is healthy. If your Majesty wishes for an heir, there will surely be news this year." The imperial physician thought Han Mubai wanted children. Han Mubai's eyes moved. Her body is healthy. Yes, healthy, the imperial physician replied with certainty. Han Mubai looked towards Xiao Xuexin in the distance, then instructed the retainer beside him. Go to the Xiao Manor and deliver a message. Tomorrow this king will accompany the Empress consort on her return visit to her family. In these 3 years with him he has never voluntarily gone to the Xiao Manor. Even when my parents came, he didn't really receive them, but he probably hasn't discovered anything. Otherwise with his methods of doing things, once he discovered the Xiao Manor was deceiving him, by now he would surely have made it so that not even a chicken or dog would be left of the Song family. After Xiao Xuexin learned he was going to the Xiao Manor tomorrow, she was very uneasy. His lordship has only just seen me for half a day. Has he seen that I am not Xiao Zhuyun? But she quickly calmed down again. No, he hasn't seen it. Otherwise he would have taken my head long ago. But it must be that the imperial physician just said something that made his lordship suspicious. Kua, have someone go inquire about it right now. She is smart. Children raised by a prominent and influential family like the Song family naturally would produce mediocrities. Early the next morning, the carriage departed for the Xiao Manor. The spring sun was somewhat scorching. I could only hide in Han Mubai's shadow and float towards the carriage. His figure was tall, and in his shadow, I wasn't scorched in the slightest. I never thought I would one day need his protection like this. Upon arriving at the Xiao Manor, my parents had already been waiting at the entrance, and upon seeing Han Mubai, they immediately greeted him with enthusiasm. Mother also held Xiao Xuexin's hand, with worry in her eyes. I am a bit sad. In my memory, Mother has never looked at me like this. Even on the day I married Han Mubai, she knew I might die, yet there was still joy in her eyes, happy that Xiao Xuexin could live. It is a pity that back then I just couldn't understand. Always thought Mother had also fought for my life. She surely must have loved me too. Fidey Mother, I'd also be willing to switch back with older sister. Why did you have to kill me? I floated beside Mother and asked. Mother can't hear. When I was alive, she already disregarded my pleas, so how could she possibly care about me after I am dead? All she cares about is Xiao Xuexin. Father subtly asked why Han Mubai and Xiao Xuexin came. After all, the current situation is critical. Han Mubai should be in the palace. Han Mubai said it is a beautiful spring day, and the Song family's garden scenery is a marvel of Tiandu City. So they came to enjoy the view. I knew his purpose was definitely not this, but I still braced myself, because my corpse is buried in the garden. Father and Mother probably haven't moved my corpse away yet. After all, the Song family is a large family, with many people and many mouths, A slight carelessness would lead to discovery. Han Mubai slowly wandered through the garden. Xiao Xuexin nervously followed beside him. Mother gently patted her hand, as if signaling her not to worry. Father asked Han Mubai about the recent situation in court. Han Mubai did not answer, instead picking a begonia flower and putting it in Xiao Xuexin's hair. Xiao Xuexin's eyes suddenly lit up, then she bashfully lowered her head again. Mom and Dad were also smiling. They let out a sigh of relief. Han Mubai used to adorn my hair with flowers too. It wasn't that he liked me much. It was just that, as one of his possessions, he could find some amusement in dressing me up when he was idle. Or perhaps to dress me up more to his liking before enjoying me, so he could have more fun. Many thanks, Your Majesty, Xiao Xuexin said softly. Han Mubai smiled and continued to walk forward. Ahead was where I was buried. My corpse was beneath that cluster of chumi flowers. But when I floated over, I couldn't feel my corpse anymore. I saw that the soil had been freshly turned. The body had been moved. It must have been done last night. They still didn't dare to gamble after all. Han Mubai climbed out of a pile of dead bodies. They were afraid he might notice something. But where am I now? Suddenly the wind picked up. Countless peach blossoms were blown over, and there was a cool fragrance in the wind. Peach blossoms precede snow. Half of spring is at rest. Han Mubai looked in the direction the peach blossoms were flying from, and at the end of the garden there was a small courtyard with a peach tree. Its pure white flowers in full bloom. Han Mubai walked towards it, but Mom and Dad both stopped him, saying there was nothing to see there. Han Mubai said he had never seen such white, clear winded peach blossoms, and it wouldn't hurt to take a look. Xiao Xuexin immediately feigned dizziness. Your lordship, it is too hot. Your concubine feels a bit unwell and wishes to rest. Han Mubai saw her pale face and sweating forehead, hesitated, but still left with her. I looked at my parents' expressions, and I knew my body must be in that courtyard inside the room. Mother accompanied Xiao Xuexin to rest, while father took Han Mubai to the quiet study for tea. Mother, is that Jinx really pregnant? Xiao Xuexin asked. Mother nodded. Last night, we cut open her belly, and indeed she was. Upon hearing this, my stomach began to ache, as if my soul had also been cut open. I also didn't expect that I was actually pregnant. After taking so much medicine, I thought my body wouldn't be able to bear children anymore. Fortunately, we acted first, otherwise, once she showed, I wouldn't be able to pretend to be her. Xiao Xuexin rejoiced. Mother nodded. Today, seeing his lordship being very good to you, you must quickly seize the opportunity. Once you have a child, even if his lordship notices something, for the sake of the child, it will pass. Kui Ir also said, your servant also paid heavily to ask the imperial physician, who said his lordship only asked about your health, miss, and nothing else. Xiao Xuexin was a little unhappy. Then he wasn't concerned about me, he was concerned about the Jinx. Mother comforted her. Xuexin, Zhuyun is already dead. From now on, the Lord will be yours alone. Look, today the Lord even put a flower in your hair for you. You'll be loving and devoted until old age with many children and grandchildren. Only then did Xiao Xuexin smile a little. Mother, your daughter feels so happy now. Mother smiled, looking at her. As long as my good girl is happy. I didn't watch any further. I floated out, but where could I go? When I was alive, I had a maternal family I could return to, and an in-laws family I could blend into. After death I still couldn't find release. That night, Xiao Xuexin waited for Han Mubai as she did last night. But Han Mubai was still drinking in the Feng Pavilion. If it were before, I would breathe a sigh of relief. Let him drink his fill. The drunker the better, then I could get a good night. Sleep now. However, I found it strange. He clearly put a flower in Xiao Xuexin's hair during the day. So why wasn't he coming tonight? I floated to Feng Pavilion. He was sitting there, holding a cup but not drinking. With him was his retainer, Lin Fang. Lin Fang said that Han Mubai went to the Song family today, and even put on a show of marital harmony in front of so many people. The court would surely consider the Pei and Song families as one entity. This way, the Song family would be isolated by the Pei family's adversaries, and thus would pose any threat, so that was why Han Mubai went to the Song family. I thought he had noticed something amiss with Xiao Xuexin. I was overthinking it. Lin Fang was still talking about court affairs, but Han Mubai seemed a bit distracted. Lin Fang also noticed, "Is my lord troubled?" Han Mubai said, "A few days ago, this king had a dream. Dreaming of the lady and a small child standing on the opposite bank of the river. The peach blossoms on the opposite bank were blooming beautifully. This king called her. But she ignored me." Lin Fang smiled. "It must be that what you think about during the day, you dream about at night. My lord wants to truly have a home." Han Mubai, however, shook his head. "The day this king's parents and family passed away, this king also dreamed of them standing on the opposite bank of the river. No matter how I called them, they couldn't hear." Lin Fang quickly comforted, "My lord, don't be sad or overthink it. Besides, the lady is perfectly fine in the manor right now. It is just a dream." Han Mubai took a sip of wine. "Perhaps it is just a dream." After a moment of silence, he added, "Send someone to keep an eye on the Song family. It is unusual that she recovered perfectly after returning for just a few days, and today the Song family seems to be hiding something." After Lin Fang left, I sat opposite Han Mubai, quietly watching him. If I weren't a spirit now, I would never dare to look at him like this. He just said he dreamed of me, and a small child standing under a peach tree. Did he have a premonition when my child and I died? Did he ever care about me? The night wind gently blew, insects chirped joyfully, the moon's shadow slanted. Han Mubai drank the wine in his cup, and I had no shadow. After a long while, he finally got up and walked towards Xiao Xuexin's courtyard. Xiao Xuexin was already asleep, leaning by the bed, a smile still on her lips. She is not good at waiting for people. When waiting for someone, especially someone who holds power over life and death, one absolutely dares not fall asleep. Kuai, I wanted to wake her up, but Han Mubai waved his hand and said softly, "Let her sleep. Xiao Xuexin really is a lucky star. Look, even if she is disguised as me, she can immediately have what I never got." I want to appear in Han Mubai's dream to tell him I was buried under that peach tree in the Song family's compound. But I don't know how to enter his dream. At this moment he was sleeping, his brows tightly furrowed, as if in a nightmare. In the past 3 years I've seen him like this many times. Sometimes he would also shed tears in his dream. When I wanted to wake him up, he would immediately wake up and forcefully strangle my neck. Only after seeing it was me would he let go. At that time he told me not to touch him when he was asleep, because he would kill me. I was timid for a long time, until later I heard people say that Han Mubai often encountered assassinations during his years in the Northern Territory. So he never slept peacefully. I thought about it, cradling his face in my hands, pressing my forehead against his. Maybe I could enter his dream. But it was still useless for someone so alert. He didn't even twitch an eyelid. These past few days I've also tried to find other people and other ghosts. But it is as if I am trapped near Xiao Xuexin. As soon as I get a little far from her, an invisible force pulls me back. I don't know what else she did to me. Am I going to be bound like this forever? Just as I looked up, ready to go out, Han Mubai suddenly hugged the owner, or me, and flipped over. Even though I had no physical body, he seemed to be able to hold me. Then he woke up too. He looked at his empty embrace, and after a moment of being stunned, his throat moved and his breathing slowly steadied from heavy. Then I heard him say, "Han Mubai, don't be misled by her. In this relationship of ours, he was always clear-headed, even on so many nights when he seemed to want to carve me into his bones and blood. When the faint light of dawn appeared, he would revert back to Han Mubai, the king of Beijing, and I would still be Xuexin, the daughter of the Song family." Before dawn, people from the palace came again, saying the emperor suddenly woke up. Han Mubai entered the palace, and shortly after the funeral bell tolled. The emperor passed away, the whole nation mourned. The new emperor was young, and Han Mubai became regent. 13 years ago, He was exiled to the northern military camp, wearing shackles. 13 years later, he stood at the highest peak treading over a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Then, he began a ruthless purge. Of the 5 great families back then, only the Song family remained after he killed the others. There was a jest circulating among the people. The Zhu, Wang, Luo, and Shi families should not have sent treasures back then, but rather offered beauties. Exactly. Jewels are all common things. Only humans have feelings. I also had the good fortune to see that lady. She truly has the beauty of Qinghua and jade, so delicate that I could help but pity her. Even if King Beizhen has a heart of stone, how could he resist a beauty's tender affections? But I heard that as long as King Beizhen is in the mansion, he practically never leaves the lady's bed. When I heard these words, mother was praising Xiao Xuexin. "Ooh, my good daughter, now you are the most noble woman in the world. Even the Empress Dowager can compare to you." Xiao Xuexin was unenthusiastic. "What is the use of being noble? Your daughter hasn't seen his lordship for over a month." Mother advised her to be more patient, saying that he was currently handling court affairs, and things would be fine once he was done with this busy period. Xiao Xuexin worried that other women might take her place at this time. Mother smiled. "Let's just say there aren't any now. But even if there were, your parents would remove them for you. Auntie Mother, you are so good to your daughter." Mother said, "Seti, who else would I be good to if not you? You are the treasure that mother personally raised." I stared blankly at them. Is it because I didn't grow up by mother's side that I can be casually removed just like those others? She mentioned Xiao Xuexin, then asked about the condition of my corpse. Mother said she hadn't dug it up to look again, but it had probably already rotted and become nourishment for that peach tree. I looked down at my feet, feeling that mother was right. My feet had started to become transparent a few days ago. I think I am starting to dissipate. I don't know why I am still in the human world, nor do I know how long I can stay. What is more, I don't know why I've been dead for so long, and haven't seen a ghost official come to take me. 2 more days passed and Han Mubai was finally coming back. Xiao Xuexin meticulously dressed herself up in front of the mirror. She admired herself in the mirror. "Kuaza, did his lordship really used to come here himself? And Zhuyun never actively invited him?" Kuaza replied yes. Xiao Xuexin scoffed. "Then she really has excellent tactics. I underestimated her before." Kuai added, "Your ladyship, do you want to change into a more simple and elegant outfit?" Second Miss rarely wore such bright colors. Xiao Xuexin's face turned cold. She is her, I am me. I'll wear whatever I like. But, Kuya, Xiao Xuexin turned around and looked at her. "It is already been 2 months. Xiao Zhuyun is turning into a skeleton. What is there to worry about? A while ago I still thought she was smart, but now she is so clueless." "No, she is not clueless. She is just eager to get rid of my shadow. No one wants to be someone else forever." In the evening, Han Mubai finally arrived. In a dark mystic, patterned dragon robe, adding nobility to his killing aura. He was originally from a noble family, but before, his true nature was covered by blood and hatred. Xiao Xuexin hurriedly got up to greet him, her eyes filled with admiration and infatuation. "My lord, you are finally back." Xiao Xuexin softly nestled in Han Mufan's arms. Han Mufan's spirit was also stirring at this moment, holding a high position. With a beauty in his arms, no man dislikes it. He embraced Xiao Xuexin's slender waist. The sharpness in his eyes gradually dissipated, replaced by a touch of tenderness. "I am back," he responded to her hoarsely. The next moment, however, he frowned. "Haven't you changed your perfume yet?" Xiao Xuexin's gaze was a bit evasive. "Changed, I did change it. My lord, after you said you disliked it that time, this concubine never used it again." Han Mufan looked at her thoughtfully, but in the end said nothing, ate with her, and then left. As soon as he left, Xiao Xuexin tore off all the pearl and jade sachets on her body. "I've used this peach scent for so long. I almost marinated myself in it. So how could my lord still say the scent is different? Quia, are you lying to me? Do you not want your family to live? She asked sharply. Quay ere immediately knelt down. This servant would never dare to lie to miss. Then what is the reason? Quaquire thought for a moment. Perhaps it is not the peach scent but body odor. This say,